We're ready. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Seers podcast. And I'm one of your hosts, Mercedes Lucky Benedict. And as you can see, we have the amazing Ann Bender over here with me as our host, too. We are missing our wonderful Lala Bright right now, but she's supposed to be popping in very soon. So just like Bewitched, she'll be popping in. We will see her when she gets here. And until that moment, I just want to express, I know Ann does too, how excited we are to have the incredible Stephen Mirror on with us today. That's right, audience. It's like we're all clapping all over the world right now. I know, don't gush, Steve. Okay, and I'm gonna. Do you want to go by Steve? Kind of like Steven, but Steve is probably good because you haven't.
Yeah, Steve. Everybody calls me Steve.
We'll just call you Steve. Okay, good.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Well, we are so excited to have you on, sir, and you're like brilliant. And is there anything you would like to say before we have this gentleman talk and just explain who he is? Tell us what you're thinking right now to have this gentleman on with us.
I'm thrilled to pieces. I'm curious to see some of these quantum pictures I've been hearing about. So, as I was mentioning to you, the discussions that my brother and I have about dimensions and the physics behind it, as it relates to our 2D and 3D perception. I cannot wait to hear your take on all this, also from a mathematical standpoint.
Ooh.
I know. See, we are not just all pretty faces around here, okay?
Yeah. Got your finger on the button, guys. You're up to date.
Well, I'm so happy to have you here, like I said. And so with that said, I would love for you just to tell us a little bit about what you would like people to know who you are.
Okay, well, I mean, I started like anybody else does as an experiencer, mostly. I didn't talk about that actually for quite a number of years, because I started in 1983, so I'm 42 years now on in the subject. And times have changed, I didn't talk about being an expert at first because, I'm a professional researcher, and you often thought that it might have been a little biased to talk about your own experiences, so it was kept pretty quiet. I talked about it came open about 10 years ago. Started talking about, people used to ask me how I got involved in the subject. Well, I didn't. The subject got involved with me, is the best way I can explain it, when I was 7 years of age. But of course, it put me on a track of discovery. And I started doing research and investigations in 1983. I ran a number of different organizations. I'm a founder of a number of organizations as time's gone on. Of course, I'm the owner of Phenomena magazine, which is the largest e-zine in the world now. I think there's 12 countries and several languages now. We run events. I do a lot of TV work. I'm also an actor. And then it's escalated to the point where over the last, I did 16 and a half years of corporate confidential investigations, some of them involving police authorities. And then it came from that to advanced research programs and experiments in 2003. And they ran till 2016. We are still conducting the odd few experiments still. And now I've been plunged into the world of think tanks and specialists from all over the world, and some which are still working with three-letter departments in regarding numerous aspects of phenomena. I mean, not just dealing with UAP, but the paranormal aspects of UAP as well. So it's kind of been a bit of a journey. There's always so much work to do and not enough time, unfortunately. I do lecture internationally. I've been to the States many, many times on investigations and lecturing. But it's just down to time. I'm an author as well. And like I say, I still do a lot of television work, radio shows when I can.
Well, when you say you were an experiencer at age 7 or when you were a child, and then could you explain to the audience what that means to you? What happened to you when you were that age?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I knew nothing about the subject at all. I wasn't interested in it. I'm 7 years of age. I'm just a normal young boy. And that was until I got to 7 years of age. And I never, ever remember waking up in the middle of the night. And on this particular occasion, I woke up. I wasn't somebody who had to have a light on, but there was something in the room with me, and it walked out the darkest corner of my room. And, well, looking at now what I know, it was a non-human entity.
Yeah.
And it interacted with me, and I was not in control of my actions. It was in control of my actions. The incident must have probably happened, took about 5-10 minutes. And then, of course, all hell broke loose and we screaming and, couldn't believe what I'd found in my bedroom and rushed into my parents' room. And that was when the floodgates opened after that experience. It was only 2 days later I had another experience. And then systematically, it's been the same since, well, it didn't stop. I mean, most people used to say to me, Steve, don't worry, it will all disappear when you get to your teens. Because your chemical changes in your body, you get interested in women and stuff. So, and you think to yourself, well, do you know what? It'll all disappear. Well, no, it didn't. I mean, I still have those similar experiences now. It's just never let up. It's just constantly been since I was 7 years of age. So I'm very attuned now to having these experiences, so many of them. And they also happen when people are with me as well now. So very odd, for sure.
Wow. And so did you find that as you grew into a teenager and older, did you end up having like Lala and other people have experienced where it's from other worlds? I mean, I know that it's other worlds anyway, in a way, because they're not in our world, they're in spirit world. But were you ever, because I know the ufology and different things like that, could you explain when you started getting involved in that?
Well, I started in ufology in 1983.
Yeah.
So we're 42 years past that now. I'm still busy as much as ever, but my experiences were very varied, from non-human intelligence, varied types, different types I've experienced, to paranormal, supernatural, balls of light coming into my room, interacting with me. Things that I don't even know what to categorize as. I mean, as a child, when I was 9, playing in my back garden, a white horse's head came out of a large laurel bush. And I was stood there in amaze thinking, the first thing I could think of was, how does a horse fit in that laurel bush? It's not big enough. Well, the horse was asking me questions and talking with me. It wasn't moving its lips, but I could hear it.
Yeah.
That happened several times. A small little man appeared in my bedroom. He used to come out the wall. In some occasions, he used to beckon me to follow him. I was off and running away by that time. I had a spate of jester for 2 years, which terrified me. That's all he wanted to do, is terrify me. All sorts of strange, weird things, you name it. I've pretty much experienced it. And even out and about, whilst I was on holiday, whilst I was staying at friends, whilst I've been away working, whilst driving, and they're in the back of the car talking, I can hear them speaking when there's nobody in the back of the vehicle. all sorts of different things. And I regularly see UFOs. The last one was during the UK partial solar eclipse, which was a few days ago.
Mm.
Um, it's just constant. It's just constant. So I'm used to it now. You become used to it, I suppose, after so long. And the
Oh, yeah.
people around me experience it as well, so that's also interesting.
Well, one of the questions I know Anne wants to ask some questions, but I usually ask everybody that comes on because this is called the Seers podcast, and the Seers, and that was a name that I was given. A few, to I wrote about it in my book, but I also one early morning that I was told to make this podcast. And so that's what I did. I started working on it, and I know who I was supposed to have in it, Anne and Lala, and here we have Anne, and we have Lala. Hopefully, she'll still be on. But what to me, the Seers is the things that we do and that you do. But when I say the Seers or Seers to you, what does that mean to you?
Well, if you received information about putting a show together, it was rather one of three things. It was rather a direct voice phenomenon, which is communicating with you, or you came in a dream, or it was a conscious downloaded information. The thing is that Mercedes and Anne and myself were all workers for the phenomenon. The phenomenon seeks to be seen. Always. It wants information out. It wants information shared. So it's utilizing all of us, in a sense of speaking, to deliver information. We might not really want to work for them. We should put a bill in, but but we are all workers for this phenomenon. It's utilizing us to put ourselves into positions to reach out to others.
Yes.
And that's what the phenomenon was, and it steers us onto certain paths and opens doors, and just things come together, strange synchronicities and coincidences. It all falls in place.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That is like amazing. The phenomena. I work for the phenomena. That's right. Now, Anne, I know that you want to ask him some questions. Please do that. I know you're dying to do that.
I can't even speak. To actually have him here, and I can't tell you the flurry of questions, but just to listen to him speak is.
I know. You have a beautiful voice, and it's the phenomenon. Look, the phenomenon brought him here. So
very true, very true. Yeah, we have a relationship, and though that not everything has been wonderful, some of them have been neutral, and some of them have been okay. But so I made it my point to let people know that there are a variety of type of experiences that people have. Though that, I understand people might have euphoric experiences. I've had some nice experiences myself, but not all of them. Some of them are absolutely opposite. Yeah. So, and I thought to myself, when I had those bad experiences, it seemed that I had a lot of people I could talk to about my good experiences, but nobody wanted to listen about bad experiences. And I thought, I can't be the only one. And since then, since working in this field, thousands and thousands of people worldwide talk to me about their not so good experiences. And I've tried to make it my duty to just put all the information out. None of it is swept under the carpet. It's all there, available, and let people make their own mind up about this, because there are some people that might have just had several euphoric experiences and therefore they think it's all euphoric, but it isn't, so it's just plainly, it is a little bit unusual why people have so many different types of experiences, but there's very little support groups for people that have negative experiences now. It's not like the 80s and 90s. I mean, there's a lot of the alien abduction stuff I was involved in through the latter 80s. I was writing in some of the episodes for X-Files at the time.
Were you? Oh my gosh.
It was very prominent, the alien abduction. A lot of people were talking about it. Of course, that went through 1990s, and I ended up with some of John Mack's clients, communicating with them. And I found out that where's all the support groups disappeared to? There seemingly isn't many of them now. People that do have those experiences, which might be a little bit negative, don't know who to talk to, and there's no support for them. So I wanted to make sure that there's still a beacon of light for people to be able to talk about these experiences, because I think it's the most important thing, psychological, is that you've got to talk about these experiences. You can't just bottle it up. It causes psychological problems. And so I made it my duty that my work looks at the whole aspect and just puts all that information out. I don't keep anything secret, or push it all out and let people decide what they want to decide from it. Because sometimes you have to be cautious, especially now, because the phenomenon has evolved and changed somewhat over the years. And some caution is involved sometimes when people are out in rural locations. They might be saying, let's just go out for a sky watch, but it might not end very well for them. So it's taken some of the fun aspect away from it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But my main job is I care for people, especially when people are having traumatic experiences. I mean, I've done a lot of residential investigations. I've dealt with children and them having traumatic experiences, and all sorts of different things. Confidential cases where companies were affected by phenomenon. People wouldn't work there. So you can imagine having a business and having several staff, and they won't work. They won't work when it's dark. They won't work in a certain part of the building. So you can imagine that there's a lot of things that don't get talked about or put out to the general public, where
Yeah.
I've had involvement to try and resolve issues for them as best as possibly can.
That's amazing. And two things came up for me. One, I didn't know about the X Files that you helped for. I didn't see that in any of the things I found. I think that's amazing, and that you're deeply concerned about the health and wellness, mental health of people. We just had on my other podcast explaining the unexplainable, U.A.P. PD, which it started by two police officers, and one when he was finally able to be done with the police, but either way, they weren't able to talk at the time, but they were having experiences. So they put this group together that people can come and talk with them, because you're right, there are very little help groups for people like this. So thank you for sharing that. For me, I was thinking, I don't know about Anne, but I was thinking maybe because it's out more and people are just kind of talking about it more, that it would be, but you're literally saying it's less. There's less help for those people.
There is less help for people regarding negative experiences.
The
They don't know who to
negative.
talk to. Yes.
Yeah.
The thing is though, that the phenomenon has evolved, and now it's supercharged, the phenomena now. And the reason being is that the phenomenon acts a little bit like religion, because it's down to your belief system on many occasions. If you believe in phenomenon so much, then it increases the likelihood of you experiencing phenomenon. It's like you wouldn't see a religious apparition if you weren't religious, in a sense of speaking. That happened. So what we tend to note now is that just statistics over the last year is up by 78%.
Wow.
On encounters, 78% in 12 months. Now, what's happened in the last 12 months? Well, people's belief systems shifted drastically over the last 12 months because of all the congressional hearings about U.A.P., about all the whistleblowers, about all the news channels covering the subject, and everybody else on the back of that. You can't get away from it. People's belief system is shifted, and more people have had first-hand experience with the phenomenon, which is an increase of 78%, which is a huge amount in just over 12 months. It is evolving. Not only do we not much, we still get structured craft in the sky, discs and strange objects and shape, but the primary source now is light phenomena. we've come away from the structured craft being the most significant to being replaced by light phenomena. Light phenomena is the most significant now. Intelligent, sentient. In fact, the government, US government, has a name, IPP, Intelligent Plasma Phenomena. They believe it's sentient. It might not actually be a craft of sort. It might actually be some type of sentient beings which are interacting with us. Part and parcel, but they get referred to as UAP nonetheless. But they seem to be more commonly seen and reported, photographed and videoed now than structured craft.
Wow. And there's one thing on your on the bio, and you're part of Project Doorway. That just sounds so interesting. What is Project Doorway?
Well, it's about, I don't like the words because I think it's a bit fancy, but portals.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
That's what I figured.
I don't really, there is not, the professional name for a portal is an electron diffusion region. That's its proper name, but people tend to use the word portal. But it was about discovering them and confirming the validity that they exist and that the phenomena utilizes them. So I spent 10 years traveling all over the world, top of mountains, in deserts, jungles, you name it, because I'm seeking the phenomenon where it likes to go about its activities where there's not much footfall, there's nobody around, and these are the places when you end up having to go because the data is telling you need to go there. And we're looking at positive magnetic regions, rural locations, not much footfall, and we're monitoring them by satellites, on a number of satellites, and we're picking up activities and we're monitoring the activities there. So we end up having to go there because any scientist, you have to prove your hypothesis. You've got to go there then and prove that you were right about all the data. And we did. And yes, we experienced it firsthand. So we know that there was these specific locations. Now, we managed to reach conclusion on identification of an electron diffusion region in the Pyrenees Mountains in June or July. Was it July? No, in June of last year. And it activated whilst we were there. And not only did we feel it, we could hear it, and we also got a ping to our cell phones from Canada, which was over 4,000 miles away. Because when the diffusion region opened and the phenomena is tracking from the Pyrenees to Canada and back, the frequencies from the cell towers in Canada came through and connected with our phones. It was incredible.
Wow.
So we can confirm, yes, they're real. Phenomena does utilize these locations.
Wow. So, gosh, isn't that amazing that you're doing that and that you were there at that moment? Now, when that happened to you, what did you experience before the ping of the, what happened in your physical?
Well, when you talk to the locals, I mean, they're not very educated. I mean, these are just people that live on top of the mountains, and they're not really interested in the subject of the phenomenon, but they see it every single day and night. They're in hot location, and they said when we asked them about the UAP, they didn't even know what UAP was. So I tried to explain what that was, and they said, "Oh, the Tears of Saint Lorenzo." They said. I said, "Tears of Saint Lorenzo? What do you mean, Tears of Saint Lorenzo?" "Oh, the meteors." "The meteors?" I said. And they said, "Yes." I said, "Explain a little bit about it." They said, "Well, they come down from the sky, and then they turn, and then they change colour from blue to orange when they go into the mountain." And I said, "They're not meteors. You don't know." And they're going into the same mountain. So we had to get to that mountain, and it was a hell of a trip trying to get there. And we did. And on our second visit there, because it takes so long hiking up, and it's dangerous terrain as well, that we were up, right up against the solid side of the mountain. You could just see the stone. And all of a sudden, it started to hum. And then your body reacted to it. You could feel it. And then that was when the cell phone ping come through. And it's got the data there of where it's coming from. And it's coming from Lake Athabasca in Canada, which is 4,850 miles away. And it's impossible. The only way that can happen is that what the phenomenon is doing is that it's using the doorway to track from the mountain range in Lake Athabasca in Canada to the Pyrenees Mountains. And both mountains look identical. They're made from the same type of rock as well, interestingly enough. But there was only one cell tower around Lake Athabasca, and it was that particular cell tower that gave us the data of its location. And we were looking at the data, and it's given us the longitude and latitude of where the signals come from. So we had to go track that back, and we discovered it's on the other side of the world. There's no way we could have there was no cell signal up there on top of a mountain anyway. But for that suddenly to sort of get information from a cell tower in Canada means that as it's open and they're tracking through from one location to the other, that frequencies can pass through that as well. And what it did is the frequency from the cell tower passed through the open doorway, if you want to call it a doorway, and got to our phones on location. It was fascinating.
That's amazing. And so were you filming all this? I hope that you were filming as you were going through all these.
We were filming, yes.
Oh
yes.
My God. Is that like where we could see it? Because that sounds like amazing.
Yeah. I mean, we are putting it all together to be released. I mean, it took us a year to gather all the data and put it all together. But it's confirmation. It's confirmation that not only do the phenomena utilize as doorways from traveling from one rural location to another, which pretty much a mountain range to another mountain range.
Oh yeah.
But signals can pass through those regions at the time it's active as well, which is also interesting because we didn't know that could happen.
Have you put a correlation together with the increase in activity to certain longitude, latitude commonalities?
Absolutely, yes. But I mean, what we're tracking is the roughly about 160 to 200 nanotesla positive magnetic regions.
Yeah.
They're also looking at certain locations which we refer to as ascension points. Ascension points are
Mount Shasta.
I mean, it's like Mount Shasta. It's an ascension point and a magnetic region. It's the same thing. It's all over the world, you know, that they're kept well out of sight and away from human interference. But they're utilizing these locations, and they are literally flying straight into the rock face of.
Yep.
And I mean, because they're not transmedium capable. They're quad medium capable because they can go into not only fly in space and underwater and in the air, but they can go straight into the ground and into mountainsides and cliffs. You know, and that is why that the phenomenon is not been truly disclosed as to what it can actually do.
Can you talk about Antarctica?
Oh, I can talk about Antarctica. Yeah, of course.
Good, because we want to know.
Well,
Oh, we do. I have a theory, but
yeah.
no
Well,
way to
the thing
prove
is,
it.
Antarctica is a bit like international waters. You know, nobody really owns it. It's an international. It's a conglomerate of different countries, cut up into little pieces of cake, and say, well, you can work there, and you can work there, and so on and so forth. But occasionally they do come together with certain discoveries, and there has been a number of discoveries, but they're kept very tight. Now, I do know that there was a large meeting that took place, and they did fly in specialists, scientists, and politicians, and even astronauts, or retired astronauts, to the specialized meeting. One of those astronauts was Buzz Aldrin.
Yeah, I heard about this.
Yeah, well, I've been lucky enough to meet Buzz. He's a nice guy. But he had a problem. I mean, he didn't take well to the information whatsoever, and they had to emergency vac him out from the location by helicopter because the medevac, they had to get him out because they thought he might be having a heart attack or something, and it was basically down to it was a panic attack. And it was through the data that was shared with him, according to the information. Now, it's a location which you can well imagine that going back in time would have been a luscious region. And the plant life underneath the ice is tremendous. So we know that it was, it was looking like something like the Amazon many, many years ago. Quite clearly, they would have been a civilization there, absolutely. And artifacts apparently allegedly found in those locations. Now, what is interesting is that UAP have a strong association with that location, but most of it's coming from underwater.
Mhm.
And there has been a number of skirmishes that have been involved regarding UAP at that location. But it's very, very tight-lipped. Nobody's really wants to talk about it. But when certain bits of information comes out, I usually get to hear about it. But they're also conducting numerous magnetic experiments on at that location as well, because it's quite unique in regarding its magnetic properties there, and you don't get much data from computer systems or the internet on that because it's not mapped or it's not put information out. You won't get it. You don't get that information. So there's a huge amount of secrecy around it. But it is certainly a location not of only interest by UAP, but for specialists and scientists and special meetings as well.
Yes, very interesting. So I'm in Arizona, and my property, like we have the new documentary out on different things, but we are in the midst of missile silos. So in my research, I've definitely, and I talk about in the documentary, how I believe that's why we're seeing the UFOs and the different things, and that's what's happening. We have underground water systems that the Native Americans, the Hohokam, would work with that water, and they had these giant channels, and that's how they would have their crop systems. So they are definitely still under the water, and I believe that they travel through the water. I see the portals, so that was one of the big things. But I'm curious, with all I've just said to you, plus the CIA had their operative system here, I found out, like in the 50s or the 60s, and there's little airports everywhere. So I believe that there's something definitely in this land. And even on the geomap, our property, if you put right in the middle of the geomap, the tourist lady found this for us, and we are right dead center in 5 different huge spiritual communities or landmarks. Now, when I say all that to you, what does that like sound like something is here?
Well, the thing is, Mercedes, they're everywhere. Arizona,
yeah,
they are everywhere. You are right. They're utilizing water because they're utilizing pathways where they're not being detected or seen or causing any problems. So they're using estuaries, they're using rivers, they're using all the seas around the world. There are key locations, of course, throughout certain areas, certain islands that they like to have a strong association with, but they're everywhere. They're very covert, more so than the CIA, to be honest with you. They can keep a secret, and they don't want to disclose themselves. Look, the phenomenon wants to be seen. It wants people to see it. It wants to engage with people. But at the same time, it's not going to go and land anywhere in like the White House or on the lawn or anything, because they don't want to disclose, because they've been here forever. I mean, this is not something which is just suddenly they're traveling from another planet and coming to planet Earth. What we're discovering is that they've always been here. They might be a byproduct. We might actually be a byproduct of them, the caretakers, the whoever they are. So when we hypothesize in the 1980s that maybe must be coming from another planet, that's our thinking. It's our physics, but it's not theirs, because for them, they're masters of our reality. They can even alter our reality. You can have a virtual experience. They can put you in a virtual experience. They're masters of our reality, and that means that they've got a close connection with everything that is human orientated on planet Earth, including watching us, helping us thrive in some cases, gifting us in other cases, changing history for some reasons, and at the same time monitoring our technologies, helping us get to the stars, helping us with technologies, and at the same time watching what we do with it, because we've got an uncanny way of wanting to weaponize everything we lay our hands on. And the problem is that it's not necessarily what they want, but we tend to use it for the wrong reasons. So they're constantly monitoring us, especially military bases, like you mentioned a bit, ones in Arizona, missile bases. They're constantly being monitored. Look, if we were dealing with a phenomena that wanted to take us out, we won't be here. I mean, they're better than any other. I mean, look, what happens when we go to war with another country? Well, the first thing we do is that we put specialists in to look at the infrastructure of that country. In other words, where's the power plants? Where's the airports? Where's the military bases? Where's the, all the control for the economy for that country? And then we know how to strike them. Well, that's what they've done with us. They know everything, where every military base is, where every airport is, where every power plant is. They know that. If they wanted to first strike, we would never have been here. But that's not what they want to do. But they certainly are aware of everything that we have, because they're closely monitoring all these military bases. So the problem is, in military bases just coming up and saying, oh, well, we've got some unusual drones out there. Well, that's the new terminology for things that sometimes you don't know what they are.
In reference to Skinwalker Ranch,
I was just thinking of that.
Do you believe? Sorry, I'm reading that. Do you believe that different extraterrestrial beings collaborate so that there's more than one civilization in one location, like in the instance of Skinwalker Ranch?
Okay, so you're going to get a bit of an unusual answer. First off, Skinwalker Ranch is nothing to do with the ranch. It's to do with the land.
The land.
The high strangeness locations. I mean, there are hundreds of those types of places all over the world. Some more active than Sherman Ranch. Well, it was originally Sherman Ranch. It was the phenomenon taking place. But it was down to the land. It's the geology. It's a geological connection with the phenomenon. However, the phenomenon, the experiments have been carried out at Sherman Ranch over the years have been incredible, and they've had to take an esoteric twist to the experiments to gain more of an interest from the phenomenon. Unfortunately, some of those experimenters overindulged themselves, and they ended up with hitchhiker phenomena taking back home, which was not good for the science team. So you learn there are protocols now, safety protocols. You cannot overindulge yourself, because sometimes the phenomena some of this phenomena has a little hook in it, and it wants to indulge, it wants to excite you so much that you keep going back and doing it and doing it and doing it. And for doing that, it gives you a little hook into the skin and travels back home with you and causes chaos.
Yeah.
So there's a certain protocols now I wrote about safety. Now, when it comes to the various beings, if I was to list the amount of beings that have been encountered, say just over the last 300 years, we're over 6,000 different types of beings.
Oh, that's far more than I.
Yep. There's over 30 varies of the grey. If you want to refer to the grey as a grey. But there's over 6,000 of these things worldwide. Now, but they all do the same thing, and they all have the same technologies, and they all tell you the same things. At first, they said, we come from under the ground, but we never really found any evidence to support that. And we're talking going back to quite a long time. And then he said it came from the moon. Not really found civilization on the moon. Then they said they came from Venus, or Venusians, and well, we've sent probes to Venus. It's very hot and gaseous, and human life wouldn't be able to sustain there. Then he said they came from Mars. Well, we're not found. There may have been an ancient civilization on Mars, but nothing new. And now it's like, well, we come from this planet system, you know. And then it's when we've got the technology to look at that planet and realize it's very unlikely that life would be on there. We get another. Well, we're not at that planet. We're further out. And as time's gone on, they're going further and further and further away. The problem for us is that our scientists in 1969, the best scientists in the world, came together by request from NASA. And there were two different things done. The first one was the Brookings Institute report, which was about if we discover intelligent civilizations out there, do we tell the public? The Brookings Institute said no. But what was interesting is that they, in the paragraph, they said, but you must start to educate the public. You must start to let them know, because you can't stay in this process of saying no forever with technologies. Eventually, you, me, and everybody else might have a telescope. We can it's strong enough for us to actually look at Mars and other places. So we can't say no forever. But what was interesting, the best scientists in the world came together with this one question from NASA. If we experience intelligent life out there, how will we recognize it? Which is a really interesting question. So the best scientists in the world went away, and these are astrophysicists, astrobiologists, the best in the world. These are the guys that got the equipment to look at these planets out in space, in the distance, and work out the chemical, and the temperature, and the gravity, and all sorts of things. And they came back and they said, surprisingly, Earth is very unique. And we might find there's some planets out there with some water on them. We will call them exoplanets or exoplanets. And the news tend to pick up on them and say, oh, we found new planet Earth. What they're not telling you is, yes, it might have some water on it. But then the problem of that is that the gases are poisonous. The radiation would kill you. The gravity is too dense for us to be even stand foot on that. But every being, extraterrestrial, allegedly, which has come to planet Earth, can not only breathe our air, gravity is perfect for them. And in some cases, they've even eaten and drank our food. There are cases of that. You think, okay, this is a bit strange. Which planets are they coming from? Because it'd have to be a planet which is pretty much the same as us. Well, the scientists looked out into space and realized something very quickly, that unique is Earth, and other planets, they say there's changes on these planets, vast changes. But they said only a little change on planet causes vast changes in its life forms. That's even if it reaches an intelligence. So they come to the conclusion that it's very unlikely that all these beings that are coming to planet Earth throughout history, thousands upon thousands of years now, they've all got 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth. They're bipedals. So they're built to interact with planet Earth, be able to open doors, pick up things, interact with us, touch us, pick us up. You know, they're designed for our planet like we are. The problem is, there's no planet out there like that, what they're finding. So, when they calculated up over the years, they reported to NASA, maybe if there is intelligent life out there, you won't even recognize it. Could be some single-cell organism, you know, which is the size of a human or even bigger. But it's intelligent and interacts, but it's extraterrestrial. You would never know what it is. You wouldn't expect it to look like that. And that's the sort of things they were coming back with. Because they said it's preposterous that any extraterrestrial life out there would have and been built in the same way humanity has, because it'd have to have the same gravity, it'd have to have evolved in the same way, and have to have the same radiation, the same magnetics, the same air, all these different things come into play, and yet none of them have a problem being here on Earth. And the scientists realized, well, it's actually more likely that they come from planet Earth, or they're jumping, not traveling from planet to planet, they're jumping in and out, interdimensional, to another existence of the Earth. right next door to ours.
Yep.
And we wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
And this is where we lie now with the information when I'm on think tanks and talking to people, is there is no more discussion about ETs. They don't call them ETs, they call them NHI. This is why in the government, US government, they dropped extraterrestrial. They don't want to even go there anymore. They don't even think that's extraterrestrial. They say it's non-human intelligence. They're not even talking about extraterrestrial information and traveling. They're talking about interdimensional.
Mm.
And this seems to be more present and more popular and more evidence for than the extraterrestrial hypothesis. But the problem is that the phenomenon has a habit of being very deceptive. It tells, it does silly things like lands at schoolyards around the world, in West Australia or Ariel School in Zimbabwe. So there's even one in the UK. They come down and landed, and they give you this one-line message: "We're worried about planet Earth, kids. We've got to do something about it." But they've never engaged us to stop the problems that we have done to the Earth. They've not stopped us. They've not warned us. They just let us go about our business. So it's not so much about the environment. Otherwise, they probably would have stopped us. Is it about us? You think, oh, well, because people used to say, well, they must be care about humans, and they don't want us to do it. But they never engage in stopping wars. Millions of humans over the years are just wiping each other out over what? Religion and greed. And yet not one of them is intervened and said, hang on, I'm taking control now. You got to stop that. No. But what they do is that they observe. They like observing war. They like observing skirmishes. You can even go back to ancient times, ancient battles where they appeared in the sky. They're absolutely fascinated about why we do, but they don't stop it. So it's not about Earth. It's not about us. So what is it? Well, I'm thinking, we are they are our caretakers in a sense of speaking, and done more than what we think they've done. But it seems that we are the experiment, and that they are conducting agendas. It's just agenda. Some are going out and doing some things which you might think is not very nice. Some of them are doing things which is quite nice, and they're teaching, and they're making things better for people. Some people have even been healed from illnesses. And then there are some terrible things that go on, So it's just agenda. It's just your job to go out there, and it's down to us what we experience, as something bad or something good. But now, at the top end, they know that this is more interdimensional phenomena. We know that they're intelligent enough and sentient enough to interact with us, and we can't do nothing about it. We don't control the skies. We don't know where they are. We don't know where they're coming from. There's no point of, if you've got an adversary who's infiltrating your skies, you want to know, who is that adversary? What country did he come from? Because we need to know how we need to retaliate if something should go wrong. Well, we don't, because we don't know where they come from. And sometimes, because they're metaphysical, they can just switch off. You're pursuing one and it just goes, boom, it cloaks, it's gone, it's disappeared. Or it's controlling your own craft. Pilots have lost control of their aircraft and they get too close to them. They can't control the skies. They can't stop phenomena suddenly appearing in your bedroom in the middle of the night. They've no control, but they can't just drop that onto onto people's laps and say, look, this is the truth. Apart from that, there's a problem regarding economy, religion, and all these things, because what's happened is that the phenomena is so old that it's intertwined with all the religions.
Yep.
Religions came after, and what we've done is we've utilized all these different religions all around the world. They've utilized parts of the phenomenon and put it into their religion.
Yep.
Deities and all sorts of different things. And it's just a big mess now. Everyone's always arguing about their religion, and none of them is right, because it was intertwined right from the start. Because there's no other animal that has religion. There's only humans. So why do we have religion? Where did it come from? Someone one day had a spark and thought, there's got to be. That's because there was an interaction that took place between the gods, the angels, the deities, call them what you will. And that's where the religion was born, and it's spread out across the world in various different types. But if you look through the Quran, you look through the Bibles, you look through Hebrew stuff, it's all there. And yet they're still arguing amongst themselves how to prepare the public for this.
The problem is the population.
Yeah.
The population cannot wrap their minds around dimensional and quantum physics and think about it in its full essence. So if they have one three-dimensional religion to force on everybody in that community, and each community has their belief system set up around this occurrence as a spiritual item, then they can believe it. They can buy into it.
Yeah.
But when you try to explain what it really is, most people cannot understand it.
And that's the stuff we do know, not the stuff we don't know. I mean, it's going to be what people have said to me, which know a lot more than I do. They said, Steve, it's indigestible. This is the biggest problem. We want disclosure, but we daren't do it because it is absolutely indigestible. Yeah. It has to be done in a very slow process, bits and pieces, because we've got to. So we can't just suddenly raise the bar so high. We won't be able to hack. We've got to traditionally go through this for long periods of time, and it is designed over the next 70 years. We might get to some interesting aspects, and I still think that they were still sat on stuff even then, to be honest with you, because it's just too hard to believe, actually, what this really does consist of. But it is interesting, and we are getting there. I mean, at least we are. It isn't the elephant in the room conversation now when you talk about UFOs or UAP, because it's been on the news. They've confirmed, yes, they're real, but we don't know who they are. So that at least that's something, because we never had that for the last 80 years. It was like UAPs, UFOs, they don't exist. We're not interested in them. Well, at least that's something, isn't it? And so it's interesting that we've got to that point in my lifetime. I never thought we'd even have an acknowledgement that UAP are real, but we don't know what they are. I didn't even think we'd get that, to be honest with you, in my lifetime. So I consider myself quite lucky.
Well, it's so true. Now, when we're talking about all this, and I know we've run out of time, but I have a question. Like, it feels to me that they are wanting to really start being where people see them more. And it's happening. I mean, literally for the last, it's been very bizarre. The last 2 weeks, I've had almost every single night, I've had an experience with some kind of phenomenon. And one of the things, you might have heard of this, but I see a lot of people like I am in an auditorium. And I think to myself, am I always being watched from all these people? Because I'll see them go in rows like they're, and I could see them very clearly. It gets clearer. And I hadn't seen that for at least a year. And then the other day it popped up twice, and I've had it in 2 weeks. And sometimes I'm just sitting here in my living room and I'm thinking, okay, is it just that I see that when I'm in a still moment? But if I'm not aware of them. But that maybe I'm being watched the whole time that way. Sometimes I think, like, how is it only just certain times, all these people, and I've drawn pictures of it. And I sometimes think that they're trying to say, like, we are about to start really coming around. So people will be, I don't know, it could be the bad ones where they want to be scaring people, or it could be some phenomenon, things that are just amazing for people. Have you received those thoughts too, or understandings?
Oh, I mean, obviously consciousness is changing. It's developing. But that's only because the amount of influence the phenomena has on humanity now, because that's evolving and that's growing. It's growing by the day, because more people are believing in the phenomenon. And the more people that believe in it, the more interactive it becomes with the humanity. The more humanity interact with the phenomena, the more it gives them intent and focus. And when that happens, this is when you start to have more and more experiences. And now, I mean, people are even getting involved in, conscious summoning now through psionic experiments and things like that. I'm saying to people, well, you know what, just be careful what you do. You don't know what you're going to receive. And what happens if you have an interaction and you don't like it? What do you do then? And they just look at you as like rabbits in headlights. I don't know.
Yeah,
You don't even think about
Be
it.
careful what you wish for.
Well, yeah, it's not always great. But the thing is that what you don't realize is that there's a genetic aspect to the phenomenon. People become experiencers can be genetically altered, can be affected physiologically, and that you can pass on to your children. Your children can be born experiencers. We know this now. We know that there's a gene that's involved with this type of phenomenon when you're an experiencer, so forth, so forth. And for years we've been saying, how many years have we been doing this? When my grandma was psychic.
Yes.
Oh, and then my mother was, and then I was, what? And then the children are. Why? We've always thought there's a genetic aspect to this.
Yeah.
There is a genetic aspect, and because now we can see it in the brain, we know where it is. Wow. And it's that gene, and it also is the same when UAP or NHI, non-human intelligence, is interacting with people. That gene carries on. So you can become an experiencer. They might actually initiate it, but you can become an experiencer, and you can pass that on to your children. And then you're thinking to yourself, the phenomenon is visiting my children, what can I do? Well, it's basically what you don't realize, that you were the initiator because you've passed the gene to them. And we're learning so much more. I mean, the problem with 6,000 different varied beings is that we're dealing with a phenomenon that creates archetypes to interact with humanity. The phenomenon pre-archetype is a ball of light. The intelligence, the sentience, they've been around forever. Mm-hmm. But how do you interact with a ball of light? You can't really interact very well. It's not a physical body. You can only use your mind. So what it does is it takes the measure of man or woman within a second. And it thinks, what do you think I am? And it's looking at you. And then you thinking, what is that? Isn't it? And then all of a sudden, it'll take the form of it to interact with you as an interface. This is why children have seen animated teddy bears in the bedroom talking to them at night. It's never been an animated teddy bear. It was something else. In fact, when it happened to a young girl at age 7, they came back naively, because we don't know if space and time is the same for them as it is for us. But they came back 10 years so later. By then, she's 17, almost 18, and he tried to appear again as the animated teddy bear. And an 18-year-old girl went, "You must be joking. That's not real. I'm not swallowing that." And she saw it change from the teddy bear into a grey right before her eyes. They're archetypes. They're using different things to interface with us, and this could be many different things. So the thing is, what they do is, this is why we've got 6,000 different ones and growing, because not only now are they doing that, they're also appearing as Mariam apparitions, ladies. And this is why the Vatican in November last year, they came up with a document called the Norms document, because they're really concerned, because there's a phenomenon, they're calling it the supernatural. There's a phenomenon utilizing even religious apparitions now. Mm-hmm. And they've been doing this. I talked to 3 or 4 different abductees now, been taken on crafts, and they said Jesus is there with them, saying it's okay, don't worry, let them go ahead and do what they want to do. Mm. And yet, when you talk to them, they've all got different. What did Jesus look like? And they tell you, well, he had blonde hair, blue eyes, and the other person says, well, he was coloured skin from that region. He had dark hair. They said, well, hang on a second, it can't all be Jesus, because what's happening is the phenomenon's creating Jesus to interact with you to help the situation so that you become compliant. Now the Vatican know that they're doing this, and this is why they're having meetings, because it's a big problem. The phenomenon now is not just picking out aliens and different types of beings, it's also your religious things as well now. And that's a big problem for us now. But at least we know they're archetypes, and it's a method of interfacing with humanity.
Oh my gosh, you know what? I wish we could keep talking, but I know that we've gone past our time.
Well, that's okay. I'm always happy to come back.
Well,
I'd love to chat with you later on about a case I have in SoCal,
okay.
Which I believe strongly that it is one of these situations, the person's being attacked regularly and has been for years. So I'd love to pick your brain on
Okay.
what we've got going on.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I deal with a lot of cases like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. And I would love to talk to you about this place too, if you ever want to talk to, if you could talk to me about our place, because it's ongoing. So, and I would love to have you come back. And
Sure.
and I'm sure Lala maybe will be back then. I hope, since she's okay, I hope they're okay, because I know she would miss this unless something is either really seriously delayed them or something's happened. So I hope
Okay.
they're okay.
Yeah.
So,
I'd be glad to come back.
and I love your podcast. I've looked you up the last few weeks, and I've been watching the podcasts and watching all the things I can on you. So I do think you're just amazing. It's been brilliantly incredible to have you speak with us today. Is there anything that you would like to leave with anybody, leave with the audience, and or say that is coming up in your near future that you'd like?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely, Mercedes. Well, first thing I've always realized right from the start is if you want to be successful, just make yourself available to people. You know, I mean, there are so many people out there in the world of ufology or paranormal now. You can't get hold of them. You can't even talk with them.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought to myself, well, that's wrong. You know, I'm here for the people. You know, look, phenomena came knocking on my door. I didn't knock on it. But at the end of the day, you know, I consider myself that, well, I'm happy to talk with anybody. I receive emails. I get about 600 photographs a day from all over the world. You know, I mean, there's just so many sometimes. But I will try all the damnedest to try and contact and get in touch with people. I'm always available, you know. So my email's out, you know, my phone number's out, you know. And do you know what? I don't get people contact me, you know, some of the crazy ones. I never do. There really are good people out there, and they really are, you know, having problems, and they really are gratified that the fact that they can actually contact me. So my details are up there. My YouTube channel, which is Steve Mera Official 2024. I don't hold anything back. If we're doing experiments, if we're getting information, I mean, I'm under NDAs, unfortunately, with some think tanks, but I would never join a think tank if I thought I could never release the information at some point. So I'll get to hear about it first, and then I have to twiddle my thumbs a while until they let me talk about it. But I always will talk about it. I'll always put it out. And that's what I use my channel for. Of course, it is, yes, the channel is suppressed, you know, but I knew it would do because of the content I put out. But it's still it's available for people to see, you know. So I'll just keep doing that. And if anybody wants to contact me, fine, do so. I'm always happy to help people.
Well,
How would they contact you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. How do they contact you? It's on your website, and
it's on my website. My email address there, phone numbers there.
It's all there.
Yeah. I mean, if you just kind of Google Steve Mera, you'll find my details. They're all over the place.
You're so wonderful. Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here. Right, Ann?
Thank you very much for having me on. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And then, so this is the W.E.B.B Radio Network, and our producer is Stan Fikes. And we appreciate you, Stan. And again, we wish Lala Bright had been here today, so we send our best to Lala and Lon Strickler. And we thank everybody for watching, that is watching now, that will be watching in the future. We appreciate you. And if you've been on the chat, I apologize that we're not on there with you. I hope to have a person that'll be a monitor for us soon someday, and then we'll be able to maybe take some questions and whatnot. But we appreciate everybody, and thank you so much for our wonderful guest, Steve here. Thank you, Steve Mera, and for sharing everything. You've been amazing. Shared so much. Oh my gosh. I can hardly wait to watch the show again. Okay, thank you so much again, and everyone have a wonderful night and take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.